You know what? I think we're doing wrong. It's just one thing. One thing. All the things. We're just doing one thing wrong as homesteaders. Because I watch videos about homesteaders, and one thing I learned about homesteaders is they live in the mountains. Well, I live at the beach. Well, not at the beach, but I live on the canal. It's about 2 miles away from the beach, and we're zone 8A. So, like, that's not like a homestead. You want to have goats? You want to have sheep? I don't know. I have sheep. Want to have goats? Chickens? I can't have chickens. City ordinance. So, I think we need to go to the mountains and like look in the mountains and see if that's where we want to move, and where there's like where the homesteaders live. Come on, let's go check it out. Okay, so Kim and I decided we'd go to Ashe County. So we went to the mountains to Ashe County and we decided to stay on the New River because we live on the canal now. So staying on the New River seemed like kind of the same thing, except for I'm a saltwater fisherman. I have no idea what I'm doing in the New River. So I tried to fish using my saltwater equipment and I caught this monster. I don't even know what kind of fish it is. I think it's a sucker. So anyway, he did not look too appealing. So I decided I would just safely release him back into the New River and try again. But we were still hungry, so we went into West Jefferson where they have a cheese factory. Yes, people in the mountains must like to eat cheese, and so do we. So we went to the factory and you could go in and watch them make the cheese right there. So we go into the viewing room and they were closed. So nobody's making any cheese. Where's my cheese? How are we going to get cheese if no one's making the cheese? Luckily, right across the street was the Ash Cheese shop. So we went in there and they were open. So Steve and Julie were with us. We went in and Kim got a cart and just filled it with cheese. that's I guess that's all they eat in the mountains is cheese. So we decided we're going to load up on cheese, which we did, which I think makes us more like tourists than homesteaders. So far we're not off to a good start of this homesteading in the mountain thing. But I decided I've got to get out and fish. I got to catch my own fish. I can do it on the shore, on the beach. I got to be able to do it in the mountains. So my son Grayson came, and his name is Grayson, and his son Kane. They both came and decided, let's do a drone tour of the river. We can look for spots where the fish might be like holding up. And so I was like, that's a great idea. So we got the drone flying across the New River. I did not see any fish, so I kept flying it, not really paying attention to the fact that there was some wind, and I ended up just flying it right into a tree where it got stuck on the other side of the New River. So now I'm on one side of the New River and the drone is on the other side. Like, what is a man to do? So we sent Kane right there pointing, and he was like a mountain guy because he's from Brevard. So he's like, I'll face the cold river, and he started crossing it, and it was up to his waist, and I had been in that water just up to my ankles, and it was freezing. It had been snowing when we were in West Jefferson. Anyway, he got across, he got to the tree, took a selfie from the drone, got the drone, brought it back across the river, placed it down on a rock, and it was launched again, and we were able to still look in the New River, but not find any fishing holes. So kind of stumped about that, but glad that we were able to get the drone back safely. So landed that back on the picnic table and decided to do maybe something a little bit more homesteady. So what's more homesteady than goats, right? So Kim and I decided we're going to go to this farm, and they had tours and they had goat feeding. So we decided let's do the goat feeding, baby goats. So the lady was really nice. She's like, come on inside into this building, and we walk inside the building and there's a pen with like sheep and goats all ready to go in there, but they were all full grown ones, and I didn't want to feed them. We wanted to feed the baby goat, right? So she brought us over to another pen, and there inside that were these 6-day-old, they weren't even a week old, little baby goats. So she reaches in, she gets one out, and she hands it to Kim, and Kim's heart melted right there. And then watch, look at the face. Oh my God, baby goat. He was adorable, I'm going to admit it. So they brought us a bottle, and we were able to feed the baby goats. And it was at that point I realized we just paid $15 to do this lady's job. But, it's the experience, right? So if we were going to have goats, this is what it would be like. Every day I would just sit around with a bottle and a baby goat and feed it, right? So this must be what homesteading is. Anyway, Steve and Julie, who are a little more classy than I am, decided, let's go out to a restaurant. So they picked the Gamekeeper. Now, the Gamekeeper is a rather expensive restaurant, best known for game meat like elk and venison and bison. So I'm game for the Gamekeeper. So we go inside, and first we're going to sit down at the bar Oh, and check this out. In the bar, they have an Artomatic machine, which is basically an old cigarette machine, but instead of getting cigarettes, you get art. Fancy, right? So we sit down at the bar, and the bartender starts. He must have been a mad scientist. He must have been going to like, what's up, App State for chemistry. As he's mixing this drink, and then he starts lighting stuff on fire. This is like a chemistry project gone wrong right here. So he's going to put this on. He's going to smoke up the glass. It's like Dexter's Laboratory. I don't even know what's going on, but I'm again game for this crazy smoky whiskey drink I'm about to have. So we have those really fancy drinks, and then we go to sit down, and we see this deer. Where's the rest of that deer? Probably going to be on my plate. We did not know really what to order, but they had emu, elk, bison, which is buffalo, antelope. Antelope, can't go wrong with that, right? But we didn't really know what to get. So we got to order an appetizer, which was like a little sampler plate, which had all the different meats on it. So we got to taste each one beforehand. And I was digging the elk. So I decided I'm going to get the elk. Steve and Judy decided they'd get a really expensive bottle of wine because they're fancy. And this is my elk. It was like a leg of elk, but there was no leg in it. It was just a meat, which is fine with me. Besides that, we ordered the bison, the venison, and the emu. And my favorite was definitely the elk, but the emu was a close second. Those were both excellent. And so we ate our meal and had a fancy glass of wine. And I decided it's time for me to stop purchasing things and to actually catch my food like a real homesteader. So back down to the river I went. And this time I brought some worms and my double drop rig, which if you ever saltwater fish, you would know exactly what I mean. It's a rig with 2 hooks on it and a pyramid sinker, which we use for bottom fishing in the ocean. Well, that's all I had, so I brought that. And I'm like, I'm going to catch a fish here. Now, Steve was fishing on one side where the river was, where I caught the sucker, but hadn't been very successful. And then I noticed on the other side of these trees, there was a little like river coming down to the river. And I thought everything coming down that little river into the big river would be coming down and the fish would be sitting there waiting to eat whatever floated down. So I decided that would be a really good place to catch a fish, and I was right. All of a sudden, I hooked into a big old rainbow trout, and I was super, super excited about it because I'm going to get this thing up. But I must have made a rookie mountain mistake, which is on this side of the tree, it was a 4-foot drop. So I tried to lift the fish up out of the water and carry it up 4 feet to bring it to the bank. And as I did, that fish shook his head. Look at him, he's beautiful. Shook his head and decided, I'm going back in the water. What the homestead?